Rat facts: the M24 Chaffee. The M24 would start to enter service in 1944, and by 1945 would be in full service, replacing the M3 and M5. However, due to its late introduction, it would see very little combat in World War II, with its most notable engagement being the crossing of the Rhine River and assisting in the Battle of the Bulge. The French would also use them to fight Indochina in December 1953, and to transport them, they would completely dismantle the 10 M24s and fly them in as parts, then reassemble them in a military depot. The 10 Chafees would fire 15,000 shells in an infantry support role before the Viet Minh forces would finally destroy them in May 1954. But by then, the severely overworked M24s had already been entirely worn out and badly damaged. The M24 would also see combat in the Korean Peninsula during the Korean War. At the time, it was virtually the only tank the US Far East Command could immediately dispatch to help. One company of M24s would be taken from the 71st, 77th, 78th, and 79th Tank Battalion to fight the North Koreans. This would leave Japan relatively vulnerable, as these companies were intended to fight in the streets of Japan should the island become invaded. But this risk was seen as insignificant compared to the war happening in Korea. This fighting was able to give the US enough time to deploy M4A3E8s, which would relieve the M24s in August of that same year. The last known combat use of an M24 was in the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. 66 Pakistani Chaffees would be stationed in East Pakistan, today Bangladesh, and fight against the Indian T-55s and PT-76s. The now very outdated Chaffees stood very little chance and were easy prey for the more modern tanks.